The Non-Tech Millionaire Mindset with AI by Solomon Walker. Introduction. I want to start by telling you something that almost nobody in the AI conversation will say to you. You are not behind. I know that is not what the headlines tell you. I know it is not what you feel when you scroll through social media and see 23-year-olds talking about how they built passive income empires with tools you have barely heard of. I know it is not what that quiet voice whispers late at night when the world feels like it is moving fast, and you feel like you are standing still. But here is the truth. That voice is lying to you. What you are actually sitting on, right now today, with everything you already know, is more valuable in the AI era than anything a 23-year-old with a laptop and a trending topic could ever replicate. And by the time you finish this audiobook, you will not just understand that intellectually. You will feel it in the way you walk into a room. You will feel it in the decisions you make. You will feel it in the quiet confidence of someone who finally knows. Not hopes, not wishes, knows that their time has come. My name is Solomon Walker. I have spent years watching extraordinarily capable people. Doctors, educators, military veterans, business owners, administrators, engineers, consultants, people with decades of hard-won expertise, quietly opt themselves out of the wealth-building conversation because they decided somewhere along the way that they were not the right kind of person for it. Not technical enough. Not young enough, not connected enough, not something enough. And I refuse to accept that. Because the truth, the real, verifiable, demonstrable truth, is that the AI era is the single greatest equalizer in the history of wealth creation. And the people who stand to benefit most from it are not the ones who understand the technology. They are the ones who understand people, who understand problems, who understand their own field deeply enough to speak to it with authority. That is you. This audiobook is called The Non-Tech Millionaire Mindset with AI. And the word mindset is doing real work in that title, because I am not here to teach you software. I am here to dismantle the story that has been quietly keeping you from building the kind of financial life that matches the quality of mind you have already developed. We are going to do 3 things together in this book. We are going to shift your identity from someone who consumes expertise to someone who packages and sells it. We are going to rewire your relationship with time and money from the trading model you were taught to the asset model that actually builds wealth. And we're going to give you a concrete, non-technical first move, something you can do before the week is out that will prove to you, in real and tangible terms, that this is not just inspiration. This is instruction. Because the decision you made to listen to this today, that was not an accident. That was the part of you that has not given up yet. That part is right. Let us begin. Chapter 1. You were never the problem. There is a story that gets told about AI, and it goes something like this. The future belongs to the coders, the engineers, the people who understand machine learning and neural networks and large language models. The future belongs to Silicon Valley. The future belongs to the young. I need you to hear me clearly when I say, that story is a product being sold to you. And like most products, it benefits the seller far more than the buyer. Here is what is actually true. AI is not a skill. AI is a tool. And like every tool in the history of human civilization, from the printing press to the spreadsheet to the smartphone, its value is determined not by the people who built it, but by the people who know what to do with it. The people who know what to do with it are the people who understand problems deeply. The people who have lived inside an industry. The people who have sat across from enough clients, patients, students, or colleagues to know not just what the questions are, but what the questions behind the questions are. That is not a 23-year-old with a YouTube channel. That is you. Let me tell you about a woman I will call Patricia. Patricia spent 26 years in healthcare administration. She managed compliance for a mid-sized regional hospital system. She knew every regulatory framework, every accreditation standard, every documentation requirement that healthcare leaders dread and usually do not understand until they are already in trouble. She was, by any measure, an expert. The kind of expert organizations pay consultants hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to become. When AI started showing up in every conversation, Patricia did what a lot of intelligent, experienced professionals do. She studied it from a distance. She watched webinars. She read articles. She felt the pull of possibility and the weight of intimidation in equal measure. And she told herself the story. I am not technical. This is not for me. Then she changed one thing. She stopped trying to understand AI and started using it the way she would use a brilliant but inexperienced research assistant. She would say to it, in plain English, exactly what she knew. She would describe the compliance problem. She would outline the regulatory context. She would name the specific challenge that healthcare administrators face at 3 a.m. when a survey is looming and the documentation is not in order. And then she would ask the AI to help her turn that knowledge into something she could put in front of people who needed it. Within 4 months, Patricia had created a digital compliance guide for small and mid-sized healthcare organizations. She had built a set of customizable documentation templates. She had packaged 26 years of expertise into a product that sold while she slept, while she traveled, while she went to her granddaughter's recital. She did not learn to code. She did not hire a development team. She did not attend a single technical seminar. She did exactly what she had always done. She thought carefully about a real problem that real people had, and she used a tool to multiply the reach of that thinking. Patricia is not exceptional. She is a mirror. And if you are listening to this right now, if any part of her story resonated in any part of your chest, I need you to understand something. The gap was never technical. The gap was permission. Your years of experience are not a liability in the AI era. They are the raw material. They are the ore. AI is just the refinery, and a refinery is worthless without something worth refining. The depth of what you know, the specificity of what you have learned, the nuance of what you understand about your field, that is irreplaceable. That is the one thing AI cannot generate on its own. Because AI has never done the work. You have. The tech gap is not a gap at all. It is a myth manufactured to keep knowledgeable, experienced, capable people out of a game that was always available to them. Here is your first identity statement. Say it internally as I read it. Let it land. I am not someone who is learning to use AI. I am an expert whose expertise AI now allows to reach the world. Feel the difference between those two framings. One positions you as a student of technology. The other positions you as a master of your domain, with a new and extraordinarily powerful delivery mechanism. That shift in framing is not cosmetic, it is foundational. And everything else we build in this audiobook rests on whether you can hold that second version as true. It is true, I promise you. Keep listening. Chapter 2. The millionaire mindset has nothing to do with money. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to sit with it before you answer it. Even silently, even privately. How many times in your life have you traded time for money? Every hour you worked, every project you completed, every service you rendered, every meeting you sat through, every report you filed, every class you taught, every patient you saw, every client you advised. All of it, time exchanged for a check. Now I want to ask you a different question. How many times in your life has money arrived while you were doing something else? For most people listening to this, that second number is very small. Maybe it is 0. And that right there is the entire game. Not what you know, not how hard you work, not how talented you are. The millionaire mindset is not a set of positive affirmations. It is not a morning routine. It is not a personality type. It is a fundamentally different relationship with time. Let me be precise about this because precision matters here. There are 2 categories of income. The first is earned income. This is money that arrives as a direct exchange for your time and effort. You work, you get paid. You stop working, the money stops. This is the model most of us were raised in, educated into, and rewarded for. It is also structurally the hardest way to build wealth, because it has an inherent ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day. There is only one of you. The second category is asset income. This is money generated by something you built, a product, a system, a piece of intellectual property that continues to produce value independently of your time. You build it once, and then it works. While you sleep. While you travel. While you are at your child's graduation. While you are doing whatever the next chapter of your life is actually about. The millionaire mindset is simply the decision. The clear, deliberate, irreversible decision to become someone who builds assets instead of only someone who performs services. Now here is what I need you to hear, because this is where most people stop. They think asset building is reserved for a different category of person. For the investor with capital. For the entrepreneur who risked everything young. For the person with connections they do not have, time they do not have, resources they do not have. I understand that thought. I am not dismissing it. But I am challenging it directly. Here's what has changed. For the vast majority of human history, building a scalable asset required either significant capital, significant technology infrastructure, significant distribution networks, or all three. A product required a factory. A book required a publisher. A course required an institution. A training program required a facility, staff, marketing, logistics. The barriers were real and they were high. AI has collapsed those barriers, not reduced them, collapsed them. Today, a single person with expertise, a laptop, and access to AI tools that cost less than a dinner out can build, package, and distribute a premium digital product to a global audience within days, not weeks, days. The infrastructure that used to require a team and a budget now fits in your browser. Let me give you a number. A professional digital guide, something like a 40-page framework document in a field where you have deep expertise, can sell for anywhere from $47 to $497. One product. One time to build. And every time someone buys it, whether you are asleep or not, you receive that money. Sell it to 100 people in a year. At $147, that is $14,700. Generated by something you built once. Now understand that 100 sales across 12 months is fewer than 9 sales per month. For a product in a field where you are an actual expert, that is not a fantasy, that is conservative. The math is not the point. The math is just proof of concept. The point is what that shift does to your relationship with time, and therefore, to your relationship with freedom. I want to paint you a picture. A specific one, a sensory one. Imagine it is a Tuesday morning. You are doing something you love, sitting with coffee, watching the light come through a window, reading something that interests you. Your phone is nearby, but you are not checking it anxiously. You are not running late. You are not behind on anything. Then you glance at it, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. And there is a notification. A sale. Someone on the other side of the country, someone you have never met, found your product in the middle of the night, read through it, felt the value in it, and bought it. While you slept. While you woke slowly into the day. How does that feel? Not the money. The feeling. The freedom in the feeling. The confirmation that you have built something that works without you. That your expertise is serving people and generating value even when you are not performing it in real time. That feeling, that specific quality of independence and recognition is what the millionaire mindset is actually oriented toward. The money is evidence of the asset. The asset is evidence of your decision. The decision is everything. I want to ask you something direct, and I want you to take it seriously. What do you know, right now, that someone else desperately needs to know? Not theoretically, specifically. What problem do you see people struggle with that you could solve in your sleep? What question do you answer over and over again in your professional life that others treat as a mystery? What process, framework, insight, or system lives in your head right now that has never been packaged, that has only ever been given away in conversations, in meetings, in mentorship moments that evaporated the second they ended? That knowledge, that specific, hard-won, irreplaceable knowledge, is an asset waiting to be built. The millionaire mindset begins with recognizing that your expertise is not just something you do. It is something you own. And the AI era, for the first time in history, gives you a way to make that ownership real. Chapter 3. What AI actually is, and why you already know how to use it. Let me demystify something for you right now, and I want you to notice how simple this actually is. Artificial intelligence, the kind we are talking about, the kind that has taken over the conversation, the kind that people are using to build businesses and write content and analyze markets and draft documents, is a writing and thinking partner that responds to plain English. That is it. That is the whole thing. You type a sentence, it responds. You refine, it refines. You ask it to try a different approach, it does. You tell it what is missing, it adds it. Back and forth, like a conversation. Except your partner has read more text than any human being could read in 10 lifetimes, and it is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it never gets tired or defensive or distracted. The technical word for what you type to AI is a prompt. And I want you to hear me clearly. Prompting is just structured conversation. It is not code. It is not programming. It is not a technical skill. It is communication, and that is a skill you have been developing your entire professional life. Every time you briefed a team, every time you explained a complex situation to someone who needed to understand it quickly, every time you structured a report, led a meeting, outlined a project, or described a problem to a colleague, you were doing exactly what prompting does. You were organizing your thinking into language clear enough for another intelligent party to act on it. The only difference is that now the other party is AI. And AI is faster, more patient, and infinitely more scalable than any human team member you have ever worked with. Let me show you what I mean through a story. There is a man I will call Matt. Matt spent 31 years in logistics and supply chain management. He built carrier relationships, managed vendor contracts, designed routing systems, and navigated the nightmare matrix of cost, timing, and compliance that keeps goods moving across the country. He retired early, by choice, with dignity. And within 6 months, he was deeply restless. He had knowledge that companies needed. He had seen patterns that others paid consultants fortunes to figure out. But he did not know how to package it. And he was not going to go back to a corporate job to give it away again for a salary. He started using AI the way he would use a brilliant intern who knew everything about writing and structure, but nothing about logistics. He would sit down at his computer and type something like this. I need to create a guide for small e-commerce businesses that are overpaying their carriers. Here's the problem. Most small businesses have no idea that carrier rate cards are negotiable, that there are benchmark rates they can compare against, and that even a 5% reduction in shipping costs can transform their margins. Help me structure a practical, no-jargon guide that walks them through a freight audit in plain language. And the AI would produce a draft. Matt would read it, and because he was the expert, because he had lived in this space for 31 years, he could immediately see what was right and what was missing. He would add the nuance, he would correct the oversimplifications, he would insert the real-world examples that only someone with his experience could provide. He would refine, and the AI would respond, and back and forth they went. Within a few sessions, not weeks, sessions, Matt had a 60-page guide that was genuinely excellent. Not AI-generated content that felt generic and hollow. Real expertise, shaped into a format that people with the problem could use immediately. He priced it at $97. The first month he sold it, he did not advertise, he did not build a funnel, he simply shared it in the 2 online communities he already participated in. He made just under $1,200. The second month he made more, because the asset kept working. Now I want you to notice something specific about Matt's process, because this is the fundamental truth that the tech narrative obscures. AI needed Matt more than Matt needed AI. Without Matt's 31 years of supply chain expertise, the AI would have produced something generic, something that sounded correct but lacked the precision that made it actually useful. It was Matt's knowledge, the specific, hard-won, irreplaceable understanding of a real industry, that turned AI's output from information into value, into a product worth purchasing, into something that changed how a buyer ran their business. This is the relationship. You are not the student here. You are not the person who needs to catch up to AI. You are the expert, the domain knowledge holder, without whom AI produces mediocrity, with whom AI produces something extraordinary. Let that reframe settle. The tool needs the craftsman. The algorithm needs the expertise. The system needs the human being who has done the real work, seen the real failures, developed the real wisdom. That human being is you. And you already know exactly how to have a conversation. Which means you already know exactly how to use AI. You just needed someone to tell you that. Chapter 4. The Asset Mindset. Build once, earn forever. I want to make something concrete for you now because I have found that inspiration without specificity is just pleasant noise. So let us talk about what a digital asset is. Let us talk about the kinds of assets that experienced professionals are building right now. Not in some abstract future, but in the time it takes to read a long article. And let us talk about what those assets earn, and what that earning feels like when it becomes real. A digital asset is any piece of packaged expertise that can be sold repeatedly without requiring your direct presence or labor each time it is sold. It is the difference between giving a workshop, where you must show up, prepare, and perform, and selling a recording of that workshop, which continues to teach people long after you have moved on to the next thing. Let me give you a short tour of the most accessible types. The first is the Expertise Guide. This is a structured document, typically between 20 and 80 pages, that walks someone through a specific process, framework, or decision in your area of expertise. It is comprehensive enough to create genuine transformation in how the reader approaches a problem. Healthcare compliance frameworks. Financial planning checklists for small business owners. Curriculum design guides for independent educators. Marketing frameworks for professional service providers. The specificity is the value. The more specific the expertise, the more powerful the asset. The second is the template library. Professionals in every field have developed documents, forms, processes, and frameworks they use repeatedly, that they almost take for granted, that would save others extraordinary amounts of time and error if they could simply access them. A collection of professional templates, contracts, project frameworks, assessment tools, communication scripts, can sell for anywhere from $27 to $297, depending on the depth and field. The third is the short course. This does not have to be a massive multi-module academy. A focused 4 to 6 hour deep dive into a specific professional challenge, delivered as a series of audio recordings, video walkthroughs, or written modules, is one of the highest value digital assets available. The right short course in the right niche, priced correctly, can generate thousands of dollars per month from a relatively small audience. The fourth, and the one I encourage most people to start with, is the focused framework. A single PDF between 8 and 20 pages that takes one problem your ideal buyer has and solves it completely. Not comprehensively, not exhaustively, completely for that specific problem. Sharp, practical, immediately usable. This is the fastest asset to build, the easiest to describe to a buyer, and the one most likely to generate your first sale quickly enough to be believed. Now, I want to make the math real. Not aspirational math, conservative math. Say you build that focused framework. You price it at $67. Over the course of a year, 50 people buy it. Fewer than one per week. That is $3,350. For something you built once, in a few days of focused work. But here's the thing about building once. Once you know how to build one, you build more. The second is faster than the first. The third is faster than the second. Within a year of consistent building, not frantic building, consistent building, you might have 4 or 5 assets in the market. Some selling occasionally, some selling regularly. A small catalog, selling modestly, adds up to something that changes how you look at your bank account, and more importantly, it changes how you look at your options. When you have asset income running in the background, even $500 a month, even $1,000, you make decisions differently. You negotiate differently. You say no differently. Options are freedom, and assets build options. Let me paint you a picture now, a specific, sensory one. It is early morning, 6:42 a.m. The house is quiet in the way that only early mornings are, that particular quality of silence before the world starts demanding things. You are in whatever space you love in the morning, kitchen table, back porch, reading chair. Your coffee is hot. You pick up your phone, not compulsively, not anxiously, just naturally, the way you might check the weather. And there in your notification queue from the platform where your digital products live are 2 purchase notifications from overnight. One came in at 1:17 in the morning, one came in at 4:53, while you were asleep, while you were nowhere near a computer or a client or a meeting. And you set the phone back down, and you take a sip of coffee, and the feeling, I want you to feel this now as specifically as you can, is not excitement exactly. It is something quieter and more durable than excitement. It is confirmation. The confirmation that the system is working. That the decision you made to become a builder, not just a performer, not just a service provider, not just someone who trades time for money, was the right decision. That feeling, multiplied over months and years, becomes a new relationship with your own security. A new relationship with possibility. A new relationship with yourself as someone who creates value that lives beyond the moment of its creation. You are not just building products, you are building evidence for yourself and for everyone watching you that a different kind of life is available and that you chose it. Here's what I want to challenge you with at the end of this chapter. The word builder is one you may not have applied to yourself before. You may have thought of yourself as a professional, a practitioner, an expert. Those words are about what you do. Builder is about what you are becoming. Are you willing to become a builder? Not a dreamer, not a learner, not someone who is thinking about eventually maybe trying something. A builder, someone who decides today that the expertise they carry is too valuable to live only in their own head, and who commits to building something with it that will outlast the meeting, outlast the contract, outlast even the career. That decision, that specific shift from performer to builder, is the real millionaire mindset, and it is available to you right now. Chapter 5. The Identity Shift, Becoming the Non-Tech Millionaire. I need to go somewhere with you that most business audiobooks do not go, and I am asking you to stay with me, because this is the chapter that will either unlock everything else, or if we skip it, quietly undermine it. We need to talk about identity. Specifically, we need to talk about the story you have been telling yourself, not consciously, not deliberately, about whether someone like you builds this kind of wealth. Because here is what I have observed, consistently, across profession after profession, background after background. The people who struggle most to build digital assets and passive income are not the ones who lack expertise. They are not the ones who lack intelligence. They are not even the ones who lack tools or access or opportunity. They are the ones who, somewhere deep and quiet, do not fully believe that financial abundance is for them. That belief, that quiet, unexamined conviction, is the invisible barrier. It is more powerful than any technical skill gap, more limiting than any market condition. It operates below the level of conscious thought, and it shapes every decision you make. including the decision of whether to take the next step after an audiobook like this one, or to let the clarity fade when life demands its attention back. So I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, in the privacy of your own mind. What is the story? What is the specific, particular story you carry about who gets to be wealthy, and whether that includes you? Maybe the story is about your background, the neighborhood you came from, the financial patterns you watched your parents live, the unspoken message that money was always something other people had, something you worked toward but never quite arrived at, something associated with luck or privilege or a version of ambition that felt unsafe to want. Maybe the story is about your age, the quiet, corrosive message that opportunities have windows, and yours closed. That the people building things now started younger, knew things earlier, had a head start you cannot compensate for. Maybe the story is about worthiness. The performance of competence that you have maintained for decades, that you are good at your job, reliable, valuable, paired with a private doubt about whether you are the kind of person who makes it to the next level. Whatever the next level means to you. These stories are not the truth. They are the residue of a world that was not designed for the version of you that is possible. A world that confused your access to wealth-building tools with your worthiness for wealth. A world that no longer exists in the same way, because AI has changed the equation in ways that make those old barriers structurally irrelevant. But I cannot collapse the old story for you by simply telling you it is wrong. You have to locate it, name it, and then decide, consciously, deliberately, to build a new one. So I want to walk you through a brief internal exercise. You do not need a pen. You do not need to stop what you are doing. Just follow me inward for a moment. Think about the area, the specific area, where your professional expertise runs deepest, not generally, specifically. What is the one domain where, if someone called you at midnight with an emergency in that field, you would know exactly what to tell them? Where your pattern recognition kicks in before your conscious mind even finishes processing the question. Hold that domain in mind. Now think about the specific problems in that domain that cause real pain for real people. Not abstract challenges. The specific, recurring, expensive, exhausting problems that you have watched people struggle with and that you have solved over and over and over again. Now here is the reframe I want to offer. What you just identified is not your job history. It is not your resume. It is not a description of what you have done in the past. It is an asset waiting to be born. The knowledge you located just now, that specific, deep, hard-won understanding of a real problem and how to solve it, is something people are actively, right now, paying money to access. They are searching for it online. They are joining communities to find it. They are hiring consultants at $500 an hour to get their hands on a version of it that may be far less precise than what is already living in your head. You are not behind. You are not insufficient. You are not unqualified for the next version of your financial life. I want to say this directly, because I know how rare it is to hear. You have permission to want this. You have permission to want a life where the money is not constantly a source of anxiety, where the next chapter of your life is determined by desire, not necessity, where the expertise you have spent decades building serves you, actually serves you, not just the organizations and clients and institutions who have always been the primary beneficiaries of what you know. You are allowed to want that. It is not greedy. It is not naive. It is not too late. It is the natural, appropriate, deeply human desire of someone who has given a great deal and is ready to build something for themselves. I need you to hear this clearly, and I want you to let it land somewhere real. Your knowledge is enough, your experience is enough, your expertise, exactly as it is, exactly as you have developed it, with all of its specific depth and particular focus, is enough to build something valuable. It has always been enough. You are the one who needed to believe that. Now you do. Chapter 6. Your first move. The 72-hour asset blueprint. Everything we have covered up to this point has been preparation, identity work, mindset work, the necessary interior renovation before you start building, and it has been real work. More important than most people realize. But now we move. Because here is something I know about inspiration. It has a half-life. The clarity you feel right now, the sense of possibility, the recognition of your own expertise, the permission to want a different kind of financial future, that feeling is real. And it is also fragile. When you return to your normal life, your inbox, your obligations, your routines, the clarity will begin to fade. Not because it was false, but because life is loud, and the new always feels more uncertain than the familiar. So before that happens, I want to give you something concrete. A first move. 5 specific steps that you can take within the next 72 hours. Not to build a complete business, not to transform everything at once, but to prove to yourself that this is real, that the asset model works, that your expertise has a market, that you are capable of building something. The first sale changes everything. Not because of the money, because of the proof. Step 1. Choose your expertise lane. Not your full range of knowledge. Not everything you know. One lane. The specific, narrow, focused intersection of a problem and a solution that you are uniquely positioned to address. If you are a former healthcare compliance officer, your lane is not healthcare. It might be documentation readiness for small surgical centers facing accreditation review. If you are a retired educator, your lane is not education. It might be curriculum design for adult learners returning to school after a career change. The narrower the lane, the more powerful the asset. Generic knowledge is freely available. Specific expertise is rare and therefore valuable. Here is how AI helps with this step. You simply describe your professional background to an AI tool. In plain English, the way you would describe it to someone you just met at a conference. And then ask it to help you identify the most specific, high-value intersection between your expertise and a market need. It will ask you clarifying questions. You answer them. Together you will arrive at a lane more precisely defined than most people reach without a professional coach. Step 2. Design the asset. You have your lane. Now decide what form your first product takes. I recommend starting with the focused framework. A practical, structured guide of 8 to 20 pages that solves one specific problem completely. Give it a name that describes the transformation, not the topic. Not accreditation guide, the 72-hour readiness plan, what surveyors look for and how to be ready before they arrive. The name should make the right buyer feel immediately seen. Here is how AI helps. You describe the problem your product solves, the audience who has that problem, and the key insights or steps that constitute the solution. You tell the AI what you know. You explain the framework you have developed over years of experience, and the AI helps you structure it into a logical, readable, compelling flow. You review every section. You correct, add, deepen. The AI drafts, you refine. The final product should be so deeply informed by your expertise that no one could have produced it without your specific knowledge. Because they could not have. Step 3. Price it with confidence. This is where many people undermine themselves, and I want to be direct about it. The instinct, especially for people who are used to charging for time rather than for value, is to price low, to apologize for the price before they even set it, to worry that no one will pay for something they can theoretically Google for free. Here is the truth. People do not pay for information. They pay for organization, precision, and expertise applied to their specific problem. They pay for the confidence that comes from a product designed by someone who has solved the problem they are wrestling with. They pay for the shortcut, the 5-page framework that replaces 6 months of trial and error. Price according to the value of the outcome, not the effort of your creation. A guide that helps a small business owner save $40,000 in carrier fees is worth far more than a free Google search. And pricing it at $97 or $147 is not only reasonable, it signals the seriousness of the value. Here is how AI helps. Describe your product to an AI tool and ask it to help you identify comparable products in the market and think through value-based pricing. It will help you see your work through a buyer's eyes, which is often exactly the perspective shift that makes confident pricing possible. Step 4. Create a simple path to purchase. You do not need a custom website. You do not need a complex funnel. You need a single page on any number of platforms that handle this without technical expertise. That describes your product clearly, establishes your credibility, states the price, and allows someone to pay and receive access immediately. Platforms like Gumroad, Payhip, and similar tools were built precisely for this. For experts who want to sell digital products without building technology infrastructure, you can have a fully functional product page live within 2 hours. Here is how AI helps. Ask it to draft your product description, the page copy that explains what the buyer receives, why it is worth the price, and what changes for them after they purchase. You provide the specifics of your expertise and the transformation your product creates. The AI helps you articulate it in the language of your buyer. Clear, compelling, credible. Step 5. Make 5 personal outreach contacts. This is the step that feels uncomfortable for most professionals, and it is the step that generates the first sale. 5 people. Not a mass email. Not a social media post into the void. 5 specific, individual people who you know personally or professionally, who either have the problem your product solves or who know people who do. Write them a direct personal message, not a sales pitch. A genuine note that says, I have created something I think could genuinely help people in your world. Here is what it is. I would love for you to take a look. Here is how AI helps. Ask it to help you draft that personal outreach message in a way that feels natural and non-salesy. Describe your relationship with the person, describe your product, and ask AI to help you frame it in a way that honors the relationship and introduces the product with genuine confidence. These 5 steps, within 72 hours. You will not have a complete business, you will not have a full system, but you will have something far more important. You will have proof. Proof that you can build something. Proof that your expertise has a market. Proof that the identity shift we made together in the previous chapter was not just emotional language. It was a true description of what you are capable of. The first step changes what you believe about yourself. And everything that follows, every subsequent product, every larger audience, every passive sale that arrives in the night, is built on the foundation of that first proof point. Take the first step. Take it within 72 hours. Take it before the clarity fades. Chapter 7. The long game, legacy, freedom, and what this is really about. I want to ask you a question that I do not want you to answer quickly. Why do you actually want this? Not the surface answer, not financial security or passive income or more freedom. Those are true, and they matter. But beneath them is something more specific, more personal, more irreducibly yours. Something that, if you really let yourself feel it, is a little tender. Maybe it is the image of a conversation you want to have with your adult child, the one where you look them in the eye and say, I figured it out. Not perfectly, not grandly, but I built something. I did not just survive. I actually built something that will outlast me. Maybe it is the feeling of making a decision, a trip, a gift, a piece of generosity, without the first thought being whether you can afford it. The lightness of that. The particular quality of ease that comes from financial options rather than financial pressure. Maybe it is simpler and more private than any of that. Maybe it is just the deep need to prove to yourself, after all of it, after all the years of competence and contribution and showing up, that you still have a next chapter. That the best thing you have done is not already behind you. I believe in the reality and the dignity of all of those reasons. And I want to add something to them. When you build something real, when you actually create a digital asset, sell it to people who benefit from it, and watch that asset generate income over time, you do something that goes beyond your own financial situation. You become a model. A living, visible, real proof point that it is possible. The people watching you, your children, your colleagues, the younger professionals in your field who wonder if there is something beyond the conventional path. They are not just watching whether you succeed. They are watching whether someone like you tries, whether someone who has lived as long and worked as hard and carried the specific weight that you have carried, whether that person looks up one day and says, "Not done yet. More to build. More to become." That moment of deciding, that is the legacy. The income is evidence of the decision, but the decision itself is what matters most. I want to speak plainly about the long game, because I think it is important not to sell you a version of this that sounds effortless. Building does not happen in a single afternoon. The first asset will take longer than you expect. There will be a moment, probably more than one, where you question whether it is worth the effort, whether anyone will actually buy it, whether you were right to believe in the possibility of this. In those moments, I want you to remember this. The question is not whether it will work perfectly from the start. The question is whether you are willing to be a builder, and building requires tolerance for the process. For the imperfection of the first version. For the patience of the early days before momentum arrives. Every person who has built something meaningful has sat with that exact discomfort, every single one. The difference between the ones who built and the ones who did not is not talent or resources or connections. It is the willingness to stay in the uncertainty long enough for the evidence to arrive. And the evidence does arrive. The first sale arrives, and then the second. And then you wake up one morning and realize that the asset you built 3 months ago has sold to people in 7 different states. People you have never met, people who found your work because it was exactly what they needed, people who solved a problem with your expertise that was costing them time and money and confidence. That is not a small thing. That is a life, the specific kind of life that most people imagine from a distance, but never actually build toward. You are building toward it right now. In this moment, listening to this, something has shifted. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. Something has moved in the direction of belief. And that movement, however small, is the beginning of the long game. Play it. Take it seriously. Do not rush it and do not delay it. Build with intention and patience and the quiet confidence of someone who knows what they are doing. Because you do know what you are doing. I want to close this chapter with something I want you to carry with you for a long time. The financial freedom you are building is not really about money. Money is the score. The game is the life on the other side of financial pressure, the decisions made from a place of desire rather than desperation, the mornings that belong to you, the generosity you can extend when you are not operating from scarcity, the conversations you can have when you are not quietly terrified about the numbers. That life is available. It is built in the specific, ordinary, undramatic moments of showing up to build the thing. Even when you are uncertain, even when you are tired, even when no one is watching. Those are the moments that compound. That is where legacy is made. Not in the grand gesture, in the daily decision to be someone who builds. You are that someone. You have always been that someone. Now it is time to let the world see it. Closing. The decision that changes everything. We are here. At the end, which, if I have done my job, does not feel like an ending at all. I want to talk to you directly now. Not about strategy, not about assets, not about mindset frameworks, just directly, person to person, about what happens in the next hour. In the next hour, you will return to your life. Your inbox will pull at you. The obligations that have always been there will still be there. The people who need things from you will still need them. Life does not pause for transformation. It continues, loudly and insistently, regardless of what clarity you arrived at while you were listening. And clarity fades when life gets loud. I know this. I am not telling you it to be discouraging. I am telling you it because I want to give you a specific tool to use against it. Before you go back to your life, before you set this down, before the inbox wins, before the familiar resumption of the familiar, I want you to make one decision. One specific, small, concrete decision. Not a plan, not a project. One decision. What is the first step you will take? Name it. Make it specific enough that you could describe it to someone else in one sentence. I will spend 30 minutes tonight writing down the 3 most common problems my clients face. I will open an AI tool tomorrow morning and describe my professional background for 20 minutes. I will identify one person I know who has the exact problem I could solve, and I will send them a message this week. One decision, specific enough to act on, small enough to do today. That is all. That is the entire requirement of this moment, because that one decision, made in the clarity you have right now before the noise returns, is the thread. Pull it. The rest will follow. I want to close by giving you the last identity statements of this audiobook. Hear them slowly. Let each one land before the next. You are not someone who is learning AI. You are an expert whose AI now amplifies. You are not someone waiting for the right moment. You are a builder, and the moment is now. You are not behind. You are, for perhaps the first time in your professional life, exactly where you need to be. With exactly the right expertise, the right tool, and the right decision in front of you. There is one more thing I want to say. And I want to say it slowly, with full weight, because it is the truest thing I know about the people who build something real in the second half of their lives. They are not extraordinary people. They are ordinary people who made an extraordinary decision, and then made it again the next day and the day after that. You can be one of them. You already are. You know enough. You are enough. You've just finished the Non-Tech Millionaire Mindset with AI, and that means something. Most people consume content and move on. You stayed, you listened, and now you know what's possible. You now think like an AI millionaire. The next step is building like one. Visit ashana.com for the resources to make your next move your most profitable one.